Hello guys, this is Double K's channel. Just doing GT72, what we know, what we expect, new things, old things versus the old GT70, and just overall opinions. The new GT2 was announced just over a month ago. The only thing we know so far are specs and price. There hasn't been a single actual hands-on review, benchmarks, inside, nothing. Just what we got from MSI's unveiling and what they've released to the vendors. Starting today, it is now available for pre-order on Newegg. Original release date was supposed to be today, but apparently that got pushed back to July 28th. There's two separate models. I'll be going over the more expensive. This one is $2,900. It is the GT72 007. There's also a 010 or 10. That model will just come with two MSATAs, and this one will come with all four. Spec wise, it's pretty close to the current GT70. Going through Tom's review right here. The biggest difference that you're going to see right away is the dual fans versus the single. Whether that's for the better or not, no one knows yet, as they can't run benchmarks and run any monitoring software at all. Theoretically, Asus, Dell both use dual fan configs, and gaming wise seems to work great for them. However, for rendering, 3D work, video editing, anything that's massively CPU dominant, both Dell and Asus will have the CPU running at that 100°C mark, which induces throttling, usually down to base clocks at about 2.4 GHz for the Asus, and for the Dell, depending on which model you get, whether it's the 47 or 4800, it will throttle to the 2.3, 2.4, or 2.5 stock clocks as well. The current MSI GT70 with a single fan setup, gaming wise, you will see graphics card running at that 92° thermal limit, and typically the boost clocks run at about 989 megahertz, and throttling usually the entire time you run at 92 degrees, so typically you're running mainly around that stock clock at about 920, 940 megahertz. That's with gaming. With rendering and 3D work, 100% CPU load, typically you get 20-30% core load on the graphics card. Without turbo fan, you usually see about 80-85 degrees on the processor, which is far below that 100° limit. With that turbo fan on, if you'd want to use it, typically you see about 75 degrees on the processor. So it's unknown about this new dual fan config, if it's going to follow suit with the Asus, or if it's indeed going to cool the processor enough on 100% load. That's to be determined, and we will be doing a review on the 72 as soon as it comes out. Biggest differences right here. As far as processor, you're no longer getting the 4810MQ, you get the 4710HQ. Now these, jump over here, 4700 or 4710HQ runs at 2.5 clock speeds. The 4810 runs at 2.8. So what you're really losing there is only 0.3 gigahertz, 300 megahertz. But the biggest difference right here is the term and usage of the HQ and the 4800MQ. Those of you that don't know, the MQ is a mobile design based on a upgradable socket. That's kind of like desktops, where you drop the chip onto that socket and it fits. Versus the HQ is traditionally not upgradable. It's usually either soldered on or the socket. It's just a lot harder, usually not able to upgrade. Why MSI did this, I don't know. One of the hugest things them and Dell had going for them was the fact you could upgrade. Granted, the 4710 and the 4810 are massive chips and should last the length that you'll have this laptop. Graphics cards, those are another story. We don't know if the 880 on the 72 is going to be upgradable as well or not. But that we will again find out as soon as we actually get our hands on one. Screen shouldn't have changed. It's still 1920, 1080 resolution. Typical panel. I believe Asus shares the exact panel. Got the same Blu-ray burner. Another notable difference here is the killer game networking. You will get both the Ethernet and AC by Killer. The big difference here is now you're getting the new Killer 4.0, which will include the combination of combining both wireless and wired networking connections together. Up until now, you could be plugged in and it would use that, or you could use Wi-Fi and use that connection, but they were never joined. So joining these two is going to increase your data transfer speeds, as it's going to use both your Wi-Fi speeds and your connected speeds. Add those together. Should reduce lag and just help out tremendously. You're also gaining an additional USB 3.0 port. It seems they have ditched the 2.0 ports altogether. You're getting the HDMI 1.4 and 2 mini display ports instead of the one on the current GT70. The current GT70 uses one mini display port, but also a VGA port. And that seems to be missing. Now, whether or not that is a deal breaker for any of you, I, for one, have not used VGA in the last 5 years, but that is also a difference. Another big thing here reminds me, powered by a 9-cell battery. The current GT70 power adapters are a 180 watt. Asus ships, and so does Dell, ship with over 200 watt power adapters. The components themselves at max load need at least 200 if not 210 watts coming from the wall. The 180 watt on the current MSI GT70 is not enough. So MSI has, whether you call it smart or just trying to fix a wrong, they have included NOS software for the current GT70s. What this does is when you need that 200 watts, you're only getting 180 from the wall, so it pulls power from the battery and uses that. It's designed to stop at, I believe, 20% battery, but that is just wear and tear on the battery. Why they shipped with 180 watts, I do not know. But that's going to be fixed on this new one. The new one will include 24 gigs, but it will be upgradable to 32, just like the current GT70. Another thing with this one is you are getting 4 MSATAs in RAID 0 versus the 3 MSATAs in RAID 0 that the GT70 comes with. That, in theory, would bump your RAID speeds from 1500 to 2000, depending on individual drive speeds, of course. And it also includes the 1 terabyte 2.5 inch hard drive, which you could again swap out for a terabyte solid state and have 5 total solid state drives in your laptop. That is a first for gaming laptops here. And just to go through this review, you have the bottom of the laptop. Let's find a better picture for you here. Right here, another big noticeable thing versus the GT70 is that the bottom is all one panel. They make it easy. I believe there are 6 to 8 screws to take out and the whole bottom panel comes off. They did this to allow the cooling vent right here in the middle. It allows more air to come through and to feed those 2 fans instead of the 1. What this means is versus the GT70, which had the battery pack in a spot on the lower left hand side of the laptop, this one is sealed inside. We haven't actually found any pictures of the panel off of the laptop, so we don't know how sealed this battery is and if it is indeed swappable or not. So that just means that you cannot quickly swap out battery packs like you could on the GT70. Another big thing here is these buttons on the side on the GT70 used to be up on top. They used to be touch sensitive. There have been several people complaining with the touch sensitive buttons not working for them, thus leaving them useless. MSI has now put actual buttons and on the left side. Whether the placement on top or the left is better, I think that is just personal preference. But again, that is another noticeable difference. Another thing here is the use of a button for the switchable graphics. The GT70 and GT72 both use Intel's onboard graphics chip as well as the NVIDIA counterpart. In this case, the 70 and 72 will both come with the 880M. And the current GT70, it is taken care of at a software front using either the GeoForce Experience or the GeoForce control panel to set which programs run on which chip. Whether or not a button to tell it is going to work, is going to help, no one knows. I know that with my GT70, I didn't even have to set up the software. The recommended programs to run on the graphics card on board to save on batteries, such as Internet Explorer like I'm using here, or just light programs, all standard on the Intel chip. That's right out of the box. And most games, programs, Photoshop, Sony Vegas, other things like that are all designed to run off the power-hungry NVIDIA graphics card, which would make sense. Another big thing here is the trackpad. No longer is it the small 1 by 2 inch box with minimal gesture support. It is now a full-fledged 3 by 2 touch panel, and it is supposedly supposed to work with all of the Windows gesture support. Some more pictures here. The design itself is now more metallic. Whether or not that is good, it seems to have shimmed some weight off the laptop, and they've also made it just a little bit thinner. Not that this 8.5 pound beast is really going to matter at that 1/10 of an inch or that 2 ounce difference, but you're getting more for less here. And the dual fans, you will have one for processor, one for graphics card, and down here they will show the dual fans. And you got your storage, roughly the same spot. The MSI is no longer up in the corner because that is now the graphics card and the fan. Through some more brushed aluminum versus the plastic feel with just small accents of the brushed aluminum. Whether or not this is good, I think it's good. The plastic just gives it this awkward, cheap look to it. Now it's very, very sturdy. I give it an A+. There's no creaks in the current design, but more metal like the Asus, that's definitely a plus in my book. And again, shows fans are designed to suck air in from the bottom and spit it out the back. Again, that is, no one knows if that's going to be better or not. This is typical of like the Asus and the Dell. Granted, the whole bottom middle is vented, and the Asus not so much vents. But it is a lot different than their current design with a single fan, drawing air from the bottom and expending it out the left side for the CPU and the rear for the graphics card. There's also going to be 2 5-watt fans versus the traditional single fan runs at 12 watts. And spec wise here you see the HQ versus the MQ. So instead of getting that 4810 of the GT70, you were getting a 4870 non-upgradable. So a big downgrade there. You also get the same 8GB VDDR5 VRAM for the 880M, and you are getting the ×4 RAID versus the ×3. You can go with the cheaper configuration. They will just have 2 empty slots and 2 filled slots. and that is all I can find on the web on those models themselves. MSI really doesn't have any more specs than anyone else. It actually is less specs than most other. I'll just run through here quick. At thin and light style. I don't know how you go from being a brick at 8.8 pounds and 2 inches versus the 8.59 pounds and 1.9 inches. That is not thin and light to me. The GS is definitely thin and light. That weighs just over 4 pounds and is under an inch thick. That can be had with the 4710 processor as well, but the max graphics card you can get in such a thin laptop is the 870M, which is still a beast, and how they got it into such a slim chassis is just great news for everybody. But there is the current GT72 websites and information on. Now we will go and load up, and I'll show you just some differences here. This is the current baseline model of the 4800, which is now being released with the 4810, and the GTX 880M. You also get free game and stuff. This changes every week. I bought mine about 2 weeks ago, and I just got the $100 mail-in rebate. Now you still get that rebate, and you get a mouse pad, a mouse, and a free Watch Dogs game. Thank you, Newegg. But anyway, you got a $18.99 with $100 mail-in rebate, leaving it at $1,800 bucks. You go back over here, the new GT72, $28.99. The lowest spec model with 2 MSATAs runs you $25.99. Granted, this one only comes with a terabyte, but if you step up to the $2,100 model, which also includes the goodies, you get the 1 MSATA drive, in which you could pick up 2 more 128 gigs for about $60 a piece. So I'll round that up to 100, and we will say the same config as the $2,600 GT72 will now cost you $2,200 if you went with the GT70. So you're really actually getting a decreased processor for more money. But current reviews, this is the newly released Dragon Edition. Why they did this, I have no idea. They give you an 870M or an 880M option, but other than the fancy red, which just makes it flashy, and it's on the old design, again, all plastic here, gaudy. Why do you want to attract more attention? That's all I gotta say. The current model runs on the old chassis, the GT70 does. And again, the buttons are up top. You will run down here. Spec wise, again, here's the Super Raid. This is the $2,400 option. You get 3 MSATAs. You got the same 9-cell battery. You only get the 180 watt adapter versus the 230. I wish there was a way you could use the 230 watt adapter, but I am told by MSI Tech Support that the current GT70s cannot use the 230 watt. Something with the onboard power supply, just it wasn't designed for the 100, or it wasn't designed for the 230, just designed for the 180. Current design here. Graphics card is over here on the left. Processor is down here. They share a bridge right here of 1 copper pipe. That way, if you are rendering, doing something CPU intensive, that extra heat also goes over to the cooler graphics card and kind of splits the heat disbursement, so that the graphics card heat sinks up here can also help cool the processor, and the processor heat sinks located right here. And goes the other way as well when you're gaming, and this bad boy is running at 92 degrees and this guy is only running at 50. Some of that extra heat will come over here and use this design over here for these heat sinks to cool some of that down as well. Current bottom, again, the whole GT72, this whole square in the middle here is all vents. The current GT70 model has vents here, here, and a little bit right here. And then right here you have the easily removable, replaceable battery pack. The current one will be inside somewhat replaceable, we do not know yet. Granted, you will have to carry a screwdriver if you are on the go and need to swap out batteries. Not something I recommend to do. The current design has the MSI's right here, and it has the traditional hard drive right there. RAM 2 sticks available for you, taken off the back panel right here. And under the keyboard are the other 2 upgradable slots as well. Speaking of this little picture here, the new GT72 includes a 1080p webcam. The current one only uses a 720p. Right there, both are 30 frames per second. Guys, it's a laptop webcam. It's not going to be no HD, GoPro, 4K, anything like that. Current 180 watt. Both, again, you're losing this. The new one looks so much sleeker on the sides. The added metal, the new one is just so much nicer looking. Just sleek black, more like the Asus. Asus uses that rubber finish on top. I prefer it, but not going with that cheap plastic. MSI has definitely done something good for us again. Some sneak peek going back. Again, the whole bottom here is just a massive, massive vent versus the current one. Your vents are just in the middle, and a few on the sides as well. There you go, right there. Big difference there, you guys. Big difference. But that is just my quick review on what to expect from this new one, what we know now, what we have to work with, and no one knows yet truly how this new one's gonna go. The added 2 fans, is that going to be better or is that going to be worse? The fact that you are now shipped a power adapter that actually works and doesn't need to use that quote-unquote NOS technology, which drains your battery. I mean, batteries aren't made to live forever, but I like to try and keep mine as long as I can, and the only way to get the full potential out of my laptop, I can't run with the battery out. I've got to run with it plugged in and the battery in, just if I want to use that. Here's a quick post running through the biggest cons of the new ones that we know of are the dual fans. Can that CPU fan alone keep that CPU under 100 degrees? Asus, Alienware, gaming-wise, awesome laptops, great cooling. You're a good 10 degrees from the graphics card throttling. MSI processor, fine, well under load, well under thermal specs. Graphics card runs at that 92 degree limit the entire time. And again, 4710. Not only are you losing 300 megahertz, which is a no big deal, but you're gaining a non-upgradable chip. I mean, why? It's one of the best things MSI had going. Why would they change that? Cost? I don't know. That just makes me think, like, what else isn't upgradable in this laptop? Did they use a non-upgradable graphics card? That's a huge thing right there. Come 2 years, we're gonna have full Maxwell 870, 880s next year, 2015. Supposed to include the new CUDA 5.0 instead of the CUDA 3.0 that Kempler is still based on. And that for rendering is a big difference. You're also paying hundreds more just for the same laptop. Granted, it's new, it's using a different chassis. MSI has to pay for that R&D on that. But still, if you're looking for a new laptop, at least right now, you're only offered the top spec ones. I'm sure given the next 6 months, maybe a year, they'll come up with an 870 option, maybe, or maybe they'll wait for next year. Broadwell should be coming out. Maxwell 870, 880 should be coming out next year. And what else? MSI's, they're on the way out. M.2, the weirder ones, those seem to be the new fad. And battery life. How's battery life going to be? Granted, they give you a better, bigger charger. But how is that battery life going to be? Especially with the fact that you can't just easily replace the battery like you could on the old ones. You actually have to open the bottom up to get to this battery. Like, if it's stuck at the same 3-hour mark that the current model is, I see that being a big push-off for a lot of a lot of on-the-go, especially workstation type people. But these trade-offs, are they worth it to you? The new design, the dual fans, gaming should be fine. We don't know. But again, thank you for listening to me. Once we get the current GT70 and then the new GT72, we'll be able to do a side-by-side comparison between the two. Got high hopes for this new one. There are definitely some flaws. The current model has some flaws. Let's see overall which is the better gaming, which is the better all around. We'll find out soon. Thank you for listening to me. Please like, please follow, please share. There will be a lot more of these coming. I promise you. I am new to this, but I'm getting the hang of it, and we'll talk to you again soon.